Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I invite you to step behind the sunny smile of America's beloved Doris Day, a smile so warm it lit up every silver screen she ever graced. For decades, she was the very symbol of wholesomeness, the bright girl next door whose lilting voice made the world believe that whatever will be, will be. But what if I told you that behind those golden curls and sweet serenades lay a heart bruised by betrayal, deceit, and bitter resentment? What if I told you that in the final chapter of her life, at the age of 96, Doris Day, the eternal optimist, quietly named the 5 people she despised most in this world? People who had shattered her trust, stolen her fortune, humiliated her behind closed doors, and forced her to fight battles she never wished for under the harsh glare of Hollywood lights. This was no petty list, but a secret testament to a lifetime of hidden wounds that fame could never truly heal. Tonight, we will uncover the truth behind that list, the shocking betrayals it reveals, and how one woman known for her sunny songs learned to stand her ground in a world that kept trying to dim her light. Dear viewers, brace yourselves. The story you are about to hear will change the way you see Doris Day forever. Before we unravel the names on that fateful list, let us remember who Doris Day was at her shining peak, the woman the world adored and believed could do no wrong. Born Doris Mary Ann Kappelhoff in Cincinnati in 1922, she was the girl who dreamed of dancing until a terrible car accident shattered that path, forcing her to find solace in her voice. And what a voice it was! Honey smooth yet brimming with emotion, able to soothe wartime hearts and spark hope in even the darkest of days. Doris rose to fame first as a big band singer, charming audiences on the radio, her name whispered with admiration from coast to coast. Hollywood soon came calling, and by the late 1940s, she was America's sunniest sweetheart, brightening the silver screen in musicals, romantic comedies, and family favorites that defined an era. Who could resist her charm in classics like Pillow Talk, where her innocent, playful chemistry with Rock Hudson made audiences giggle and swoon, or her anthem Que Sera, Sera, which became a lullaby for generations longing to believe that tomorrow might just take care of itself. Studios adored her bankability. Audiences worshipped her wholesomeness. She became a box office giant, the highest-paid female star of the early 1960s, an icon whose toothy grin and radiant presence made the world forget its troubles for a while. But the world saw only what it wanted to see. Few knew of the fierce battles Doris fought behind her sweet image. Her personal life was marred by heartbreaks, 3 marriages that all ended in tears and deception, and a beloved son entangled in one of Hollywood's darkest chapters. Still, through every betrayal, Doris held her head high, performing with a sparkling smile that belied the cracks slowly spreading behind the scenes. She was the kind of woman who sent handwritten thank-you notes to co-stars, who rescued animals by the hundreds, who sang her hopeful songs to lift not just audiences, but her own weary soul. She was an angel on screen, but behind the scenes, she was forced to become a warrior, a woman who would one day gather the names of her greatest foes and hold them close like battle scars that refused to fade. This, dear viewers, is the real Doris Day. America's sweetheart, yes, but also a survivor who refused to let betrayal steal her light. It is now time to peel back the delicate curtain and step into the shadows where Doris Day's heartbreaks took root, a world so far removed from her sparkling on-screen persona that even her closest admirers would struggle to believe it. Among the names etched on her secret list of enemies, none loomed larger than Martin Melcher, her third husband, the man who once claimed to love her above all else. Behind closed doors, Martin was no devoted partner. He squandered her fortune recklessly, forging her signature on disastrous investments, draining away every hard-earned dollar while she sang and smiled for an adoring world. When he died in 1968, Doris discovered she was nearly penniless, robbed not by strangers, but by the man who vowed to protect her. She never forgot the sting of that betrayal, a wound that bled quietly for decades. But Martin was not alone. Jerome Rosenthal, her trusted manager, should have safeguarded her legacy. Instead, he joined in the plunder, manipulating her finances until she was forced to drag him into court. The sweet Doris Day, the woman who sang of dreams coming true, stood in a courtroom and fought for every last cent, emerging victorious with a $22 million settlement. Yet the victory was hollow. The trust she once gave so freely was gone forever, replaced by a simmering resentment she carried well into her final years. And then there was Rock Hudson, her dearest friend, and the co-star who shared with her the screen's most tender moments. Their chemistry seemed unbreakable, but behind the scenes, tensions flared when Rock's secret, his battle with AIDS, collided with her fear of scandal. Some said she urged him to stay silent, to protect the Doris Day brand. Others whispered that she felt betrayed when he kept his diagnosis hidden for so long, forcing her into an unwanted spotlight when he could no longer hide. Their friendship, once a bright constant, was never the same. The list did not stop there. Studio bosses who painted her into the corner of fluffy rom-coms, refusing to see her depth, who mocked her when she begged for more serious roles. They too earned their place on her roll of resentment. And the gossip press, vultures who fed on every rumor about her failed marriages and motherly regrets, making her private heartbreak public fodder, they too lived rent-free in Doris's mind. These were not petty grudges. These were battle scars etched into the soul of a woman who never asked to be a warrior. She sang Que Sera, Sera for the world, but learned that what would be was far crueler than any song could soothe. Behind that dazzling smile lay the quiet fury of a woman who never forgot. And at 96, when she finally whispered the names she hated most, she made peace with the truth she could never speak in the spotlight. Let us now step into the years when these hidden resentments festered and burst forth, marking Doris Day's transformation from America's sweetheart to a woman forced to wield her innocence like a sword. After Martin Melcher's sudden death and the devastating discovery that her bank accounts were emptied to the last dime, Doris could have slipped quietly into ruin. Instead, she summoned a courage the world had never seen. She sued her manager, Jerome Rosenthal, for fraud in a bitter legal battle that dragged on for years, splashed across headlines that once only praised her angelic charm. Reporters swarmed the courthouse, snapping photos of Doris, her famous smile tight, her eyes sharper than ever. She testified about signatures forged without her knowledge, about being forced into projects she never agreed to, about millions siphoned away while she trusted blindly. When the verdict came, awarding her $22 million, the gossip press turned their scorn to reluctant respect. But even in victory, the scars were raw. In the midst of this storm, Doris found herself locked in quiet, painful feuds with Rock Hudson. Behind the sunny scenes of pillow talk and their tender TV reunions, Rock was fighting a secret battle with AIDS, a truth he hid from the world until the very end. Rumors swirled that Doris begged him to protect their legacy, that she pleaded for honesty while fearing how the scandal might stain her spotless image. Some insiders claimed they exchanged words so harsh they never fully forgave each other, even as they posed for cameras, forced smiles masking resentment. One bitter argument backstage left Doris in tears, whispering to a friend, "He let me walk into the fire unprepared." Rock, too frail to defend himself in his final days, never had the chance to respond. Meanwhile, the studio bosses who had once courted her with lavish contracts now turned their backs when Doris asked for roles with depth. They mocked her desire to stretch beyond the fluffy comedies that made her millions. "America doesn't want you serious, Doris," one executive sneered during a tense meeting, his voice dripping with disdain. Her appeal, they decided, was in her innocence, a sweetness they could sell but never allow to evolve. Each rejection chipped away at her trust in an industry she had given her youth to. And the gossip press, always lurking, feasted on every shred of her private grief. They published whispers about her failed marriages, her son's tragic brush with the Manson family, cruelly suggesting she could have done more to protect him. They hounded her outside courtrooms, spun stories of a lonely old star clinging to lost fame. When Doris finally retreated to her sanctuary in Carmel Valley, surrounded by rescued dogs and cats, she told a confidant, "They can't find me here. They can't twist my truth." Through it all, Doris Day's sunny image never quite cracked for the public. But for those who glimpsed behind the curtain, the tension was palpable. Each betrayal, each rumor, each lie wrapped in a tabloid headline deepened the list she kept tucked away in her mind. It wasn't vengeance she craved. It was acknowledgement that even America's sweetheart could bleed when trust was shattered. As the years passed, she withdrew from the Hollywood stage. Yet those old wounds lingered, waiting for the day when she would name her nemesis without fear or apology. The world may have imagined Doris Day's final days as quiet ones, afternoons spent tending to her beloved animals, her laughter echoing through sun-dappled gardens far from the flashbulbs and betrayal that once stalked her every step. But in the twilight of her 96 remarkable years, Doris carried the past like a fragile glass, and when the moment came, she chose to shatter it in the most unexpected way. In a hushed conversation with one of her oldest, most trusted friends, she finally spoke aloud the names of those who had wounded her the deepest, the 5 who had left scars no Hollywood fairy tale could conceal. Martin Melcher's name came first, the man who had sworn to be her protector but robbed her blind instead. Doris's eyes glistened as she recalled how she had once believed in happily ever after, only to awaken to forged signatures and empty accounts. Next, she named Jerome Rosenthal, her manager, whose betrayal had forced her into courtrooms instead of studios, draining her spirit even as she fought to reclaim what was hers. Then came Rock Hudson, the friend who kept secrets so large they cracked the foundation of their bond, leaving her to fend off the press alone when she might have stood by him willingly if only the truth had come sooner. She whispered about the studio bosses who boxed her in, turning her talent into a one-dimensional brand of innocence she could never fully shed, no matter how many roles she begged to play. And finally, she named the gossip press, that faceless army that stripped her private tragedies bare and fed them to the world as easy scandal. For years they speculated about her heartbreaks, her mothering, her marriages, never caring that behind the headlines lived a woman who still believed in simple joys. Yet in that same breath of confession, Doris's voice did not tremble with bitterness alone. Instead, there was a strange, tender peace, as if by naming them, she could lay them to rest. "They made me fight," she said, brushing away a tear. "And fighting made me strong. Maybe I wouldn't change that." It was an unexpected resolution from a woman who spent her life selling sweetness, but died knowing the truth of her own grit. She forgave, not to absolve them, but to unshackle herself from the weight of old grudges. As her animals lay curled at her feet, Doris Day, the girl who once dreamed of dancing, finally danced free of the betrayals that haunted her for so long. After everything, she knew, family, whether by blood or by paw, was all that truly mattered in the end. And in that soft afternoon light, America's sweetheart found her final act was not a performance, but a quiet, unburdened goodbye. As we step away from the hidden corridors of Doris Day's private heart, I ask you to pause and reflect with me for a moment. What does it mean when even the sunniest soul among us carries a list of names they cannot forgive until the very edge of life? Is it weakness to harbor such resentment, or is it proof that behind every immaculate smile lies a human being with wounds that never fully close? Doris Day taught the world to sing "Que sera, sera," whatever will be, will be. Yet she spent nearly a century shouldering secrets that fame and fortune could not protect her from. Does forgiveness truly heal when the scars were carved by those closest to us? A husband's betrayal, a friend's concealed truth, a studio's cruel limits, a manager's theft, a public's hunger for scandal? Would you, dear viewers, find the grace to let it go? Or would you, like Doris, carry those names in your breast pocket, a private reckoning that stays locked away until the world can no longer pry? Perhaps this is the greatest lesson behind the dazzling smile and lilting songs, that even our brightest idols are made of flesh and fear, of loyalty and lingering bitterness. So tonight, as you close your eyes to the sound of her sweet refrain, remember that behind every beloved melody might lie a note of sorrow, a secret list, and a truth so fragile it could break the heart of the strongest among us. The story of Doris Day does not end with the spotlight dimming, but with the quiet murmur of a woman who dared to name her demons, and find peace at last. Whatever will be, will be. But sometimes, what we choose to forgive decides who we truly become. And perhaps that is the real music she leaves behind for us all.